I literally have just only done this for 7 hours for the whole week. I do like to start off and and cry. That's really what I like to do. I like to stand here and cry. I like to express my sincere appreciation for you coming here this evening and for your time. And I'm a strong believer that the greatest gift that we can give another person is our time and attention. So I truly appreciate you all coming here tonight to give me that gift. In return, I hope to give you some value this evening as well. Tonight's topic, and I say this, every month, but I'm super excited for the topic, identity theft. And we're going to talk about 2 different aspects of that. One, the financial aspect, which I think most of us kind of go to. When you say identity theft, we think about credit cards and finances and whatnot. But we're also going to talk about our true selves and our own soul's identity and the things that we encounter every day in life that tends to rob us of who we really are. So we're gonna have fun tonight, and I've got a fabulous guest speaker. I'm super excited for. I am going to let's get this thing rolling. I'm actually, before I go to the slide, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. So my name is Christine Dundren, and I don't have a lot of credentials. I don't have many degrees. Well, in fact, I went to a business college that went bankrupt. So that's my academic background, right? But I've lived life just like all of you, and I'm fighting the good fight, just like all of you, and learning as I go and trying to pay attention to the lessons and and just try to be better. And the reason that I started these sessions was, and I guess kind of going back, my mom had passed away. It'll be 9 years this year, and that was the biggest trauma that I've ever experienced. And so that got me on a path of, what is this all about? And so fast forward, which is kind of, what sparked this. I've just been doing soul searching and researching authors and speakers. And I myself have been inspired by so many people and stories that I felt like I want to get this out to other people. To some of you who might not hear like the sources that I get my information from, but we have a connection. And so that's what kind of sparked the televisions. So without further ado, as I mentioned, so tonight's topic is identity theft, and we're going to talk about it in 2 aspects, financial and spiritual. Do we identify ourselves by our labels? And I'm going to age myself. If any of you have seen the movie The Breakfast Club, that's the perfect example of labels, right? You have the criminal, you have the athlete, right? He was in The Breakfast Club, wasn't he?
No, he wasn't.
He's still an athlete. They still have the athlete, labeled the athlete, the basket case, the princess, the brain. Labels kind of go hand in hand with identity. At least, that's how I kind of interpret it. So along with those lines, I was thinking of some major things in our lives that identify us, either ourselves or maybe how we identify others or even judge others. We are human, and we judge. Try try to be kind, in that, but there still we still identify with ourselves and people. So the first one are our bodies. We identify ourselves by our bodies, old or young. How do you identify yourself? If you're talking to somebody over the phone, they'd have no idea unless you come out and said, how old you were. And there's another thing too, interesting. I have no problem telling my age, but what I hold back is, how are you going to judge me once you know that? Are you going to look at me and say, oh, you look good for your age, or you look bad for your age? I have no problem being the age I am. How are you going to judge me once I give you that information? Our ethnicity, we're identified by that. Fill out any government form, right? Judge you based on that. Michelle and I just had this conversation. Are you tall? Are you short? Do you have short person struggles of getting the groceries on the top of the shelf, right? Do I, as being tall, banging my head on things? I know my husband has his best friend is awfully tall, and I know he jokes around saying he gets tired of the jokes of, how's the weather up there? That, he's so tall up there. We identify ourselves by our diseases. Do you say, I'm a diabetic, I suffer from depression, anything that you might have? Are you identifying yourself based on that? And are you allowing others to identify you by that? If you have something, an illness or a sickness going on, do you offer that to people? Just so that, again, they have a preconceived notion of, oh, okay, so you must have, oh, you have lung cancer, you must have been a smoker, or you must be a smoker, so there's prejudgments, there's identifications. We identify based on these aspects of our bodies. Achievements. We identify ourselves by the achievements that we accomplish in our life. Education, again, as I fessed up, I've got the education of just living life. And if I envy those who have a degree, you just need one and I'll envy you. If you have multiple degrees, that's, to me, again, I personally envy that effort and that commitment. Do you judge yourself on that, on whether you don't have them or you do have multiple ones? Do you think you're better than someone who doesn't? I don't know. It's just something to think about. I'm going to kind of backtrack, and I've mentioned this in previous televisions before too. Everything you hear tonight, I like to kind of compare to, so a parachute. The only way a parachute can work is if it's open. So as I continue this evening, I ask that you have your minds work like a parachute and just have an open mind for what you might hear tonight. So kind of, going back to it's not good or bad. There's no judgment one way. If you have a lot of degrees or you don't, I just want to bring it to your attention. Are you judging based on that? Judging yourself or others? Your careers, a title, a job title. Do you identify yourself as, I am the CEO of my company? And is that your identity? I know athletes, just even professional athletes, they only have a certain amount of time, in the profession before their bodies give out on them, when they leave that profession, who are they? It's like they've been that athlete. They identify themselves by their occupation, by their title, their position on the team. When that's over, a lot of athletes fall apart. They don't know who they are because they've been that for so long or have identified themselves by that for so long. Any goals. So whether it be education or you want a certain job title or a certain position, within a corporation, or you want to be an entrepreneur, whatever it might be, any of your goals, anything that you might have, do you identify yourself from that? Whether you achieve that goal or not, are you identifying yourself by that? Our possessions, right? We are human, and we were here to manifest things. We really were, and we were here to want the grandiose things. And I will tell you, there's nothing wrong with that. That is what I believe we are here for, is to manifest, to dream of this stuff, to put it in our thoughts, in our feelings, get excited for the journey and obtain that. I don't want to say the problem, but once you do obtain the possessions, do you put an identity to that? Do you identify yourself by that? I'm, the person with the big house, or I've got the fancy sports car, or, whatnot. Do you put an identity for yourself on the possessions? There's nothing wrong with having them. It's, do you judge? Okay, well, here's a question for you. When you see a really nice car going down the road, do you judge them? Especially if they cut you off, and you're like, you think you on the road just because you have that? Again, have an open mind. Just be aware if you are judging others based on their possessions. This is a juicy one. I saved this one for last minute, and I could go on and on and on. This is a big one for me personally, and I would imagine for most of us. Do we judge ourselves based on our past? Mostly based on the mistakes we've made in the past. Is it hard to forgive yourself from things that you've done? And do you identify yourself based on that failure? Yeah, so it's any kind of failure that you've had in the past. Are you hanging on to that and identifying yourself, and you can't let that go to move forward? Your relationship status. Do you identify yourself as the divorced one and in a negative tone, or even as the single one in a negative tone? Is there an identity based on if you're divorced, if you're married, if you're single? Do you identify yourself based on that aspect, or do you identify others? Like, oh, I have a friend who's 50 and has never been married. Ooh, there's some judgment there. I'm going to identify you as the single 50-year-old who's never been married. Bankruptcy, financially. Again, the stuff that you've done in the past, or it could be something you're going through now. Are you judging yourself based on your finances? One way or another, if they're good or they're bad. This one's mine, folks. The weight. So I can tie that to this, to sleepless nights. For me, Personally, just the whole losing weight, gaining it, losing it, and just a huge, I mean, for me, that is a huge part of how I identify myself. You know, for those of you new this evening, I was, I never weighed myself, but when I did, 272. And I had been pretty much that most of, like, from high school on to my 30s. That is really kind of who I identify myself as. I had lost over 100 pounds. I'm like, yay, way to go. And then it starts coming back. I wasn't a unicorn. I was hoping I was that unicorn, you know, that anomaly that kept it off forever. And I did not. I didn't gain all of it back. And I do have to consciously tell myself to give myself credit for what I have kept off over the amount of time. But man, that is my kryptonite. And that's how I identify myself. And I'm, again, as I said, I'm just like all of you, trying to make myself better and fight the good fight, and trying to slay that demon of that's not who I am. And we're going to go into who are we. But that's my biggest struggle. And again, yeah, I love that. I love that T-shirt. I make poor choices. just any of our choices, you know, any poor choices. Are we identifying ourselves based on those? Our topic tonight, identity theft. So I thought, all right, what is it? In Wikipedia, it is the deliberate use of someone else's identity, usually as a method to gain a financial advantage or obtain credit and other benefits in the other person's name, and perhaps to the other person's disadvantage or loss. So that is, I guess, the official definition of identity theft. I'll go to the next slide because that first, deliberate use of someone else's identity. So that was the first part of the definition, right? So tell me, you don't see celebrities and wish you were them? or am I just the only one that I wish? I don't wish I was him, but I'm almost certain that all men wish they were him.
What?
I woke someone up. Yeah. Deliberate use of someone else's identity. And that's the whole, I mean, again, we're human. We're fumbling around this life with others. I can't see how we could not compare ourselves to others. How are other people doing compared to me? How am I doing compared to others? If we do that by definition, and it's not just my opinion, it's by definition, identity theft. Honestly, think about that. If you are comparing your life, your situation, your experiences to someone else by gauging how you're doing or how you're not, you are committing identity theft for yourself. You are robbing yourself of your own identity. Wikipedia said so. It wasn't me. I am. So this is where it gets deep. So are you ready? Get your shovels out. Let's dig it together. When Moses was at the burning bush and was speaking with God, God said, I am that I am. That was God's name. I am. How often in our identity do we say, I am fat. I am broke. I am. Whatever follows that. Whatever follows I am, I want you to think about that hard, of how you finish that sentence. In the way I feel is that if it's nothing following that, if it's not pure and love after that I am, then I am using God's name in vain. He told us what his name is. I am. I am me. I am you. I am you. I am that I am. Anytime you say I am, think about what you're saying after that. And is it true or not? There was an analogy I had heard. One of my greatest inspirations, as I had mentioned at the beginning of this, when I went on my own spiritual journey, I had discovered Dr. Wayne Dyer. And he spoke of the analogy of God is the ocean, a vast ocean. We cannot compare to that greatness, that power, that love. However, we are the buckets. So you take a bucket and you dip into that ocean, that is us. Is that not still God in that bucket? It is just an extension. We are an extension of this pure love and greatness and bright light. We are not, the vast of it, but we are an extension of that. That is, again, what I believe our true identity is. Now, I'm sure you're all getting tired of listening to me the whole time. I said, I was going to stand up here and cry. I've done it twice already. We don't want any more of that. We want to hear from a subject matter expert who I'm so grateful and gracious that she agreed to be my guest this evening. And actually, I'm not Oprah yet, so I need to read some things. And I want to do my guest right by giving her the proper introduction. Bless her. So I met Michelle, I'm thinking about 2 years now. At least over a year.
A year and a half ago, about a year and a half ago.
We met at a seminar thrown by Lisa Nichols. Lisa Nichols is a motivational speaker. She was part of the movie The Secret, if anyone is familiar with The Secret. I also believe that she has played a part in the book Chicken Soup for the Soul. So that's where Michelle and I had met. Again, I don't believe in coincidences. And as you can see, a year and a half later, here we are together. But we went to that event, and we've just kind of, stayed in touch. She, a couple months ago, had her own speaking engagement, and she spoke about this exact topic. And I had been doing this already. I've done about 5 of these television sessions already. And I went to go listen to Michelle speak. And I think the next day or a couple days, I'm like, will you do this for me? And she spoke about the topic of the identity theft and the two comparisons. Michelle is a Colorado licensed attorney and has practiced in the consumer financial services industry for over 15 years as in-house corporate counsel. She was also a Denver deputy district attorney, having conducted over 50 jury trials. So now, so you can see why I have her as my subject matter expert. But that actually is not all that she is. And in fact, I haven't seen that side of her. What I have seen is another side, different, because we're all so dynamic. She is more than her legal background. She is a thriving consultant for the #1 skincare line in the US, Roden and Fields. She is a confidence crusader. Michelle leads and inspires others through her passion for living a faith-based life. From this passion, she founded the Facebook group called Confidence Chats. In a nutshell, she's badass. She knows where she comes from. She is not afraid to share that. She's not afraid to share her light, and she is not apologetic of it either. Without further ado, I will shut my trap. Please give it up for Michelle Holderman.
Thank you, everyone.
Yay. So please have a seat.
Okay.
I hope I did you justice.
Yes, way more than maybe she should have.
Well, again, back to, well, the whole identity. We're much harder on ourselves than others.
Exactly.
It's like, I see your light, but when you're, well, and I can speak to this for myself, when I'm, squeezing myself into my jeans, there's not much light. I can't fit anything else in those jeans. No light, no nothing's getting in those jeans. But other people can see. It's easier for other people to see your light than ourselves sometimes.
It's a journey. I mean, and that's why a few months ago that two of my really good friends and I got together and said, we're going to do another, our own speaking engagement. And first and foremost, I mean, I'm a faith-based Christian girl, and had lost my identity when I left my corporate job 15 years ago. Over 15 years. I left almost 4 years ago now, and I kind of lost who I was. As you were speaking and saying, do you identify yourself as that? I identified myself. I totally attached myself to that. Senior corporate attorney, managing millions of dollars of
and that's
portfolios.
interesting. When I met you over a year ago, I did not see that part of you. I didn't see that as which you identify yourself, right, for someone. Let's tap into the financial side.
That's what I think a lot of people want to hear.
I think so, and it's pretty helpful information that we got going on here. So on the financial identity theft, it's just, if I'm at the gas station, I use my credit card and I leave it there, that's the only example of, somebody takes it, that's the only example of identity theft, right?
Oh, no. I think first and foremost, you have to be aware, right? Always. In terms of your financial identity, it's really, really, really important. Because it takes you years and years to build up your financial profile of who you are. And it includes a lot of information. It includes your name, obviously, your birthday, your social security number is huge, your bank account, your retirement accounts, your credit report, your credit score, right? So you have diligently worked for years to be a good steward over your finances and build that credit report up. And it could be taken away from you in a heartbeat. So that's why I kind of wanted to talk about that, because I saw myself, again, not understanding who I was after I left my corporate job. And I wanted it to interplay it so people really understood that, gone are the days of having paper files at the bank, right? Everything is done electronically. Everything is done that way. So you swipe a card, but that card and that information is just one little aspect. And there's a lot of things that you can do to protect yourself. Nothing is foolproof, nothing, unfortunately. That I'm not here to tell you, and whatever advice I give is not truly legal advice to you as a client, but just take the information and don't just say, well, that was great. I really hope you go home and do something with it. For example, just talk about Wi-Fi. To me, that's huge. All of us, I think we expect businesses now, even the library, right? When you walked in, they have a public Wi-Fi. You should never open your email, conduct any sort of, transact any business on an open Wi-Fi. That is a cesspool for people to just dive in, get what they want, and run away with it.
Right, yeah. So, and it's hard, so I guess visually, so you got this cloud, of access. So like, I need to get into that cloud to get into my information. Well, so is everyone else in the library using that,
Right.
that same.
Right. And there's a way to
that
do it.
same wire, that same line.
Right.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. If we're using it here and you're making, transactions as you spoke, everyone, it's easy.
It's easy.
To tap into, oh, what's that person doing over
Right.
here,
And that's what it means. It's an open Wi-Fi. So even when you open up, like I have Outlook on my phone, and, all of us probably keep information within contacts, bank. You might have some of your bank information there. I wouldn't recommend it. But the one thing you can do is, it's very inexpensive. It's not free, most of them, but get a VPN account, a virtual private network. The one I have is about $99, $100 a year. I put it on my computer and I put it on my phone. So if you're going in to that coffee shop, I don't care what you're doing. If you open an email there, they have access. So you've got to be really careful and aware. Just because it's open doesn't mean it's good. So invest in a good VPN. Like I said, put it on your computer, put it on your phone. I don't conduct any information that I do if I sit anywhere, and especially as an attorney, right? I am doing what I can to be protected by that VPN. Again, nothing is foolproof. We see all the companies being hacked. Aetna, TJ Maxx, Target, the IRS was hacked. I was a victim of even identity, it wasn't even identity theft, I guess it was, yes it was. Somebody used our social security information and filed a return on my husband and ours name. And let me tell you, as an attorney, it took me, working on that file for over 1.5 years. It took about 2 years to get our money back. So even when you're not aware, things are happening. That wasn't ours, but the IRS got hacked and somebody filed a return in our name. So even when you can do these things, use a VPN, because in the United States, about, I think the statistics are about 16 to 18 million people are victims of identity theft every year. And it ranges. Is it an IRS filing? And it's going to take you hours and years probably to rectify that situation.
Right.
So that's why just take the small steps.
And with that said, I did leave handouts on chairs, and some of these tips that Michelle is sharing with us tonight, I put on there, and I think is the VPN information that she had mentioned.
Right.
So, yeah.
I've tried 2 VPNs. I paid for 120 megabits a second to download. When I had it on, it got my download down to 40, cut it in half. And you go and open email, Hourglass come on because it goes so slow.
I haven't experienced that with the one I have.
Which one do you have?
I use ExpressVPN. So I did try 2 other ones that were a little bit cumbersome to get in, but I was just on a trial period and I dropped them. I just found, I haven't found, I think it does slow it down probably some, but I haven't experienced enough to be that frustrated.
One was McAfee, and the other one was nor something. Thing.
Right. But it might slow it down some, but how many of us in the room have used open Wi-Fi and not thought twice about it? Probably all of us, right?
If you're just surfing the internet and you're not doing your banking or anything, do you think?
That's a great question.
I mean, just like opening up your
Facebook
Facebook.
and
but
being
you're not-
live on Facebook.
Yeah, but
you-
even when you're on Facebook though, you have information within your profile that could be gotten.
Depending on how much you put.
Right, how much you put on
profile.
there, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, if you're just surfing the web and don't do anything else, but I can't say that they couldn't get access to whatever information is just floating out there on your computer right now. Pictures, other things. So it's just something to be wary of.
And I want to pause here, and I don't want this to be fear-based by any means. This is when we know better, we do better.
Right.
That's all
Right.
it is. It is not to put us all in fear and think that all of our, stuff is at risk. It is, hey, here's just some information. Do with it what you wish. Yeah. So I love going off on shiny things, but then I'm also like, well, I have these questions,
Okay.
Michelle, that I want to get through.
Right,
No, but I appreciate where things go.
Right.
That's what I love about it. I do have a question. I have my credit card with me, but I'm seeing these strange charges, but I've got my credit card here. How does that happen?
Well, I mean, it can happen in a myriad of ways. So one of the things you should do though is obviously be looking at your credit card statements. But it happens, people, again, it depends if you go to a website that's not secure and you use it. All of us should probably shop online. You're vulnerable you are vulnerable anytime you use your information online. Does it still happen if you go to a restaurant and then you give the waiter your
Right.
credit card? Yes, it probably still does happen that way. It seems like when I travel, get back, have gone to another state, use my credit card at a myriad of places, then I start seeing, oh, there's these charges that I didn't make. So it's the key is, look at your credit card statements. The other thing you can do is get a copy of your credit bureau. You are entitled to 2 free credit bureaus a year. Just go to annualcreditreport.com. Look at those. Do you see anything amiss on there? Are all those accounts on there yours? Legit. And even if they are legit, look at the amounts. You had a Kohl's charge and you have $300 on it, and all of a sudden you see, your statement says, you look at your statement, now it says $1,000. I didn't charge $1,000. Something's wrong, and you gotta, and these are things that you gotta take care of. You can't sit on it.
And that's something too, I think, especially when it comes to finances, some of us are scared to look. Like, oh, I don't even want to know what my credit score is. I don't want to just because they kind of like know how they are, with spending and whatnot. Do it anyway. Just look,
You have a fear of something that you don't understand and that you don't know.
That is a great.
That's when you have a
point.
fear.
Yeah, when we don't face it, and it's the unknown.
Right.
Oh,
So-
I'm glad I got her.
So no, look, take advantage of that. You have that. And the other thing you can do too is use strong passwords for your accounts. Don't use the same password for every account. Use letters, use numbers, and change it. At my corporate job, we were forced to change our passwords every 3 months. That may be a little excessive, but it doesn't hurt. Don't use, your bank account password for your Google email account. Right? Google's or Gmail, a lot of people have that. And once they have your email address, then they can probably find your password and very easily find your bank account information. So do things like that, change your password. Those are easy things to do.
Well, and if you kind of think about it as far as somebody coming into your home, a robbery in the home, if they hear a dog, they want the easiest access into your home, right? If they hear a dog, if they see that you've got an alarm on the door or you have the cameras or the Ring or something, they're probably going to move on to an easier house. They're not even going to bother. So that's what I'm interpreting is the passwords. Just a few of these things, as Michelle said, you can't guarantee that you're never, nothing's going to happen. But if you make it a little bit more difficult, you'll be in a better spot.
The other thing, that I do faithfully is shred. Anytime I get financial information, bank statements that I don't need anymore, invest in a shredder. It's probably $30.
Right.
Do not throw that stuff away. Just shred those documents because the thieves are still out there, and if they go through your trash and can pick up, Mary Jones, and she has a bank account at Chase Manhattan, and there's her number. It's just that easy. And the other thing too, pick up your mail. Pick up your mail daily. And if you can, and I'm even going to look into this too, is put a lock, get a lock that's approved by the U.S. Postal Service on your mail. Because if you're not home, and how many of us, and I get credit card offers daily, from all the banks and all that. I'm like, stop. But it doesn't. And if you're not aware, somebody can pick that up. I was in the credit card industry for 15 years. So I can't tell you the number of people and number of times people have said, I didn't open that up. That's not me. But it's all their information, right? It's your name, your birthday, your social security number, your address. Sometimes I fail to believe, honestly. Well, there's statements that went to your house for 6 months and you said it's not yours. So the thief's coming in once a month and stealing the mail on that day when it comes? Probably not. But those are, just little things. Shred it. Do those little things.
Can I just add that at the bottom, if you get a lot of solicitors with credit cards, there's a number at the bottom that you can call to stop those mailings from coming to your home. So that eliminates some risk as well.
Right. I think that, and I'm not sure what that is. I think you can do something on your credit bureau report just to at least stop the junk.
Any credit card number or credit card where it asks you to apply, it's at the number where it says unsubscribe, and you can call that and unsubscribe, and you stop a lot of those emails too.
Right.
A lot of credit.
The risk, possible risk. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard this a couple of times that I wanted to ask you about receiving calls. Some of them are internationally. One of my coworkers was telling me, and I think he had received a call, and I think he said that they were from the IRS, and basically it was very threatening. It was a threatening call.
I got those calls too.
They said, something like, if you don't, send us this money, we're going to send the cops.
Right.
They didn't say police. They didn't say law enforcement. They said cops. If you want to speak to people who call you asking for your personal information or threatening you.
Right. The key is just to be smart. You know the companies that you do business with, right? You have a list of them. You know who they are, your bank. But when these companies initiate a phone call to you, even if you do business with them, I would be very cautious and very wary of giving out any information. If you're suspicious at all, I would not ever give my social security number over the phone to somebody who's calling me. Right? I would hang up and say, I'm going to call my bank myself. If your bank is calling you and wanting that information, don't do it. Hang up, call your bank, or call, whatever store is calling you saying that. I've gotten those calls from the IRS too. It's a big scam. It's all over the internet. They're threatening you. And in fact, the IRS, if they're going to go after you, they send you a letter. They never call you.
Yeah.
They never do. They never ever call you. So don't give any, I get the call too a lot from somebody saying there's something wrong with your computer. And, and I said, I don't even have my computer on. And there would be no reason for somebody out there for them to know that there's something wrong with your computer.
Right.
They're wanting your password, they're wanting your information. Don't do it. Be smart. Just don't give any information like that over the phone. You may sound rude, that's fine. You're protecting yourself.
I had a call saying that I was wanted or something. I mean, I think if you're like.
Right. Yeah. You would know.
What did you do in the past?
Right, you would know, right? But if it doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. Don't give that information.
Well, I would even say this, a few years ago, I had received a call through the Denver Post, which I do get the Sunday paper. And she wanted to set me up for like the automatic payment.
Right.
And I said, I'm like, that sounds great, but I'm gonna call you and get this set up. And she actually was very nice. So she's like, I can respect that. And we hung up, and then I called them because I knew what number I was calling. I knew I was calling the Denver Post to set up an automatic payment. So, and that's the thing too. If it is a company that you do business with, if they do call you, just tell them that. Say, this sounds great, this is convenient, but I'm gonna call you back. Do you have a direct line, or, I will call you. I'm not giving you this information. So if we do find ourselves as a victim of identity theft in the financial world, what steps can we take?
First and foremost, get a identity theft affidavit from the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. Just go to ftc.gov, fill out that. You can download that form, and actually there's a process on there that you can follow. That's the first step. The second step is filing a police report. Go down to your local police. I know they can't really do anything to help you, but what that does is it gives that creditor, whoever is at issue, say somebody opened up a Macy's credit card in your name, has all your information. Well, you're gonna have to go to Macy's. And you're gonna have to, write letters, and it's gonna take you time and effort, and you're gonna have to show them, look, this wasn't me. Here's a police report I filed. Here's my identity theft affidavit. And the third thing you can do is put a fraud alert on your credit bureau report, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Once you put that initial one on, I believe it goes to all three automatically. But it's only on there for 90 days, that initial one. So what you have to do is file, after that initial 90 days is over, you have to file another fraud report for each of them, I believe, individually, and then that would stay on for 7 years. Kind of the lockdown that you can do is file a true freeze, a credit report freeze on your credit report. For Colorado residents, it does not cost anything to file the initial freeze with the credit bureau reporting agencies. However, to undo the freeze will cost you $10 to $12. So say somebody has stolen your identity, they have your bank account information. Obviously now you have to go change your bank information and do all that. To really protect yourself to the fullest is put a freeze on your credit report. That means nobody is probably going to be able to open up new accounts because they see it's frozen, right? If they're legitimate, like a bigger company, like a big department store, like a Macy's or an Neiman Marcus, they're going to run your credit report and see, oh, there's a freeze on here. So they're going to have to take additional steps to make sure you are really now who you say you are, right? So, but if you're going to go make a car purchase or a home purchase, and you're going to have to do some things to maneuver around that, then you're going to probably unfreeze it. You're going to have to talk to whoever you're dealing with. If you're wanting to buy a car, talk to the finance people and tell them, I have a freeze on it. How do I do this? Know that it takes probably 4 or 5 days to freeze and unfreeze. And every time you do it, it's going to cost you $10 to $12 for each time.
Does that do anything to your score?
It shouldn't, no.
And my daughter, she got a letter from, I think it was the IRS, saying that they suspected that somebody had stolen her identity. But we were worried that somebody had filed taxes, but they hadn't. So-
Right. So, yeah, I mean, but it's gonna take you a lot of time and effort, but, so those are the things you can do. But document everything that you do.
Right.
If you write a letter, if you write a letter to the credit bureaus, keep copies of the documentation to show. It's just gonna take a while to undo.
All right. I'm looking at the clock. I got about 10 minutes
Okay, we
left.
gotta, yeah, the most.
So,
juicy part,
I
right?
know, right? Yeah, well, so our credit report, it's got a lot of information and history about us. That's who we are, isn't it?
That's who we are in terms of, the earthly world kind of thing. And again,
The physical.
right,
Yeah.
but I make no qualms about, like you said, I'm unapologetic about who I am as a daughter of Jesus. I am a Christian-based woman, and that's who I am, and I'm not gonna apologize for it. So but I started thinking about being an attorney and then being really kind of struggling myself with my identity. And I really had to dig deep and understand, God made each of us, though, unique. Our DNA is unique. Even identical twins have different fingerprints. So even God knew, like, you may be identical, but I'm gonna still make you a little bit different. How many of us have more than one child and can say, even from the same parents,
Right.
how different their personality? And so I really started just looking at, who does God say we are?
Right.
We have all this that we have to protect in the world that we live in, right? Our finances, that He knew you before you were formed. He says that, I knew you before you were formed. So before He ever formed the world, He knew, I'm gonna bring life to Christy. And I'm gonna make her, she's gonna be this tall, and she's gonna have this color hair, and
then she's going to color it.
Well,
Okay, I'll still love her
that's
anyway.
right, it doesn't matter. But he thought about that for each one of us. And when you think about that, it's so like, wow, why do I think any less of myself? Because the other part of that is, just as the thief comes in financially, we allow Satan to come into our minds to tell us, we're not good enough.
Right.
You're not strong enough. Oh, that next level of, at your job, I want to go for that next level. Do you really think you have it? And all
All the
those doubts that come in, that's not you. That really isn't. But it's your choice, though, to decide what you do with that thought. Are you going to run with that thought?
And that is, we are here on free will. So God did give us that, right? Free will. Like this, back to the ocean and bucket analogy, we are extensions, but we still have a choice on what we think, what we believe.
Right.
I wanted to make another comment about when you were saying how unique we are. There will never be another, there was never another you, like as you are, as we all are sitting here right now in this moment. There was never you ever in the past, and who you are now will never exist in the future, meaning just how unique each of us are. There's no one that ever lived before us that was exactly like us. No one will ever live in the future who's exactly like us. This is us right here, right now. This is who we truly are in this moment, our true selves. And even from the start, when I started this session 55 minutes ago, we're different from that. But we're all each our individual selves and individually unique.
Right, and again, but you can allow yourself and your who truly God made you to be and that identity to be stolen in that aspect.
Right.
Because, you allow yourself, you allow the enemy, I call him Satan, you allow him to say, again, those things to you that are not true. He made you complete and whole and perfect just the way you are. Doesn't mean we can't strive to be, like you said, I'm on this weight loss journey. We have those things that are not perfect in this world, but as our inner person, we're perfect. That's never going to change.
And anytime we feel other than that, anytime we don't feel perfect, for me personally, I use that gauge of my feelings. I mean, our feelings are our best tool. So if we feel less than and not pure love as God sees us, whenever we don't feel that, we know we're straying away from our true identity.
Exactly. Think about it and I saw this analogy that, all of us probably fly and they put it on that autopilot. And if for some reason that plane is something, turbulence or something that kind of goes off course, that autopilot is going to keep it back on track, just nudging it. And to me, that is the Holy Spirit, our Father in heaven saying, listen to that. You're not that loser. You're not that, get back on track. Right. Because we have those, it's estimated we have 50 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And the only way to combat that negativity and that enemy coming in is through the power of the word. And you're like, no, that's not who God says I am. I am more than a conqueror. I am more. I'm a victor. I'm not a victim. And that's what you have to tell yourself. And it has to be 1,000 times a day, because I've been there and I've done it. If it's 1,000 times a day, then do it 1,000 times a day, because eventually you will have that victory.
In your talk, what I loved what you had said was when we're having those negative thoughts, to verbally out loud talk to yourself and talk yourself out of it and speak the truth out loud.
Right.
Not just in your head,
no,
but stop yourself.
Right. Stop yourself
in the middle of a meeting and say, dang it, Christine. Don't do that. But still speak it out loud when you can.
You're driving, a lot of you have a commute. Do it then.
Yeah.
I did a lot of it. Community.
So what do you think are some of the things that rob us from our true identity, from our light?
As you spoke earlier, I think comparison is the thief, right? You and I were just talking. I'm only 5 feet tall. And I'm like, I'd almost kill for another 2 inches of height.
Right.
I see so many other just people. I'm like, Lord, why could you make me, 2 to 3 inches taller? The comparison is the thief. And I talked about this in May going, even though I know better, I'm at the mall and I'm like, oh, that girl is so cute. She has a perfect outfit on. Look at her. She's proportioned correctly. Her hair's done perfectly. And it just looks like she has the perfect life, right? How many of us do that? And honestly, sometimes I've walked out of the mall going, I feel worse now than when I walked in. And it takes a while to kind of, again, put myself back on course.
Right.
To say, no, that's her race. This is who I am.
And can we appreciate that
Yes.
in others? And say,
Yes.
she looks great.
She looks great.
And walk
I want to kill her,
away
but she looks great.
feeling great. So we're getting up on time, and as I had said, I'm so grateful, for your time, but I've got a couple other things. So before I ask you your last question, if people have further questions for you, either for from a identity theft financial standpoint,
Absolutely.
from your Rodana Fields, thank
Right.
you, or, you know, just from your openness of your Christianity, to get in contact with you, how can people get in touch with you?
You can reach me on my email, michelle@thestudiofirm.com, or,
And that is on the handout.
Right, it's on the
If you
handouts.
are here in the library, the handout, her contact information.
right, I also have that Confidence Chats group that I founded, pretty much based on, you know, just wanting to build people up from an inner,
Right,
because you know what?
inside out.
Inside out, inner beauty never fades. Inner beauty never, ever fades. So you, on the handout, my cell phone is on there. You can call me, text me, and, you know, we can talk, whether it's just, hey, I have a quick question about this happened.
Well, and thank you for offering that to the audience.
Absolutely.
So thank you for
Yeah.
that, for your access. So my last question for you, Michelle, so this is television. What is your vision for yourself?
Ooh. That's kind of hard. That's deep. You know, I think I'm on a journey, I am on a journey to inspire people, women, men,
Done that.
from a faith perspective. I think we do so much. I mean, Rodana feels like, you know, I'm a consultant for them. We do everything on the inside, but we don't do enough to work on the inner, right? Because our inner is eternal. And I really want people to understand who they are in Christ, and as a daughter or as a son of the Most High, that we are living, he's so close. Our Father is so close. And I've had such experience with him that I just want to share that with other people, to know he's real, he's alive, and I have personal experience with that. So I see myself, you know, just inspiring people, speaking. So, you know, tip your waiters and waitresses, and then, you know, I see myself speaking at other places and other venues, you know.
Well, you have inspired. You are an inspiration.
Well, thank you, Christina.
And I'm so grateful
Oh,
for
thank you.
your
Well,
time
thank
this
you.
evening.
All right, well, thank
Let's
you.
give it up.
All right.
And thank you all. Again, I appreciate your time this evening, and I hope you found value in it tonight. We'll be here again, same time, same bat channel, the first Wednesday of each month. So I don't know what next month's gonna bring, but I hope you enjoyed this evening. Thank you. Everybody out. Is the camera off? Now's my true identity.
I just have one stupid question.